Hello everybody. This is Reading and Annotating Complex Texts. First of four mini lectures on this topic, progressing from the question of why read at all in a writing course to presenting a system for annotating complex text of the type that we'll be reading in this course, giving you a system for doing this that we call the QUIP system, and part two will explain what that means. Then in part three, we'll look into some of the nuts and bolts of annotation, and in part four, I will show you how to use a specific software tool that we'll be using online in this course for group annotation. So part one is why read in a writing. And you may be asking that. You came across this, I'm sure, in your composition courses, but what is the reason behind it? Why can't we just write out of our heads? And I think there's several reasons for this, but I think the most basic one is that reading and writing are not separate operations, and I'll talk about that a little more in a moment. Another is that reading assignments lead directly or indirectly into writing assignments in this course and others. Third, reading and understanding complex text enhances critical thinking skills directly, right? You read complex texts here. These are not going to be the first difficult text that you're going to be asked to read. You're going to be doing that in your major. You're going to be doing that when you're out in the world and you're asked to produce a report, for example. You're going to have to read complex texts and understand them. And so the process of working your way through complex text will help to complexify, if you will, your own arguments to lead to more subtle interpretations in your own essay. So hopefully it will lead you to some insights about your own thinking process. So the first part of this, to go into this a little more, is that reading is not separate from writing. That is, what we call a writing course is really what I call a WRT course. And I think this gets at the fact that in academia we tend to use writing as a kind of shorthand when we really mean a complex of several interrelated skills: writing, reading, thinking. And so I like this acronym because it kind of looks like writing, but it really includes the other things. And the point I want to make is that that's always the case in any course that we call a writing course. I've often said that if they wanted to change the name of the writing program to the reading program, I would have no objection, because in either case you're just using a part to represent the whole. You can call it the reading program, you can call it the writing program, you can call it the thinking program. We're really doing the same thing, or we're doing all three at once in separate. So that's the first reason. The second reason is that reading assignments lead directly or indirectly to writing assignments in this course and others. They may be based directly. For example, I might ask you to analyze and interpret individual articles, or to write a comparison and contrast of multiple readings. In that case, what you're writing about is directly the text. And of course, what we're trying to do there is to get you comfortable with understanding these texts and using their ideas. A little bit more indirectly, but still very much tied to the text, we might ask you to respond to the text and then develop some of the related ideas. I mean, this might begin with do you agree or disagree, but we're going to be talking about some more sophisticated ways of responding to complex text that don't end up in this binary yes or no, agree or disagree, that there are multiple ways to develop ideas and interact with a text beyond just agree, disagree. And finally, and especially by the time we get to the end of the course, we're going to be asking you to operate more independently to the point where the assigned articles will provide a framework, a kind of intellectual framework for your own research, which you can then apply to a different topic. So, as we said before, reading and understanding complex text can enhance students' critical thinking skills. Frankly, the texts that we're using in this course are not easy. They're not meant to be easy. They will require more than one reading, and we're going to structure things, as you'll see in a moment, so that you will do more than one reading and so that you won't be left alone with your reading, but rather will be able to collect all of these readings of your classmates and make it a group endeavor. So the meanings may not be straightforward or easily evident on the first reading. And here's probably the most important point of all, that learning how to work through difficult texts, to persist in order to understand them, and to use them to develop your own ideas is a key skill for success in college and beyond. I want you to come away from this course with the idea that you can read any text. It may take a while, especially if it involves something that is not directly in your discipline or anything that you study directly, but I want you to have the feeling that you will understand it, and not just approximately, right? That it won't just be guesswork, but that you will really be able to interact with the text at a sophisticated level. That's what we're going after. So just a couple more points about reading in general. And that is that reading is both the most private and the most social activity that we can possibly engage in when using language. I think it's easy to see how it is private and how it is subjective. Even if we're in the same room with someone and we can see that he or she is reading a book in their hand or a tablet, or they're reading off a computer screen, we can see that they're reading. But even if we were to look over their shoulder and we could see what the words were that they were reading, we still don't know what's going on in their minds, because it's always more than just the words on the page. It's interacting with everything that you've ever read, other texts, other experiences of reading, or any experiences that don't involve reading. It interacts with any experience you've had in your life. So every experience of reading is uniquely subjective. And even the same reader and the same text at a different time will come out differently. If you read something today and you read the same thing in a year, you're going to be different, and the context is going to be different, and so the text is going to be different, and the experience of reading is going to be different. The next part, which is the opposite, right? We can easily see how reading is private, but we also need to keep in mind that reading is also irreducibly social. It is participating in language, first of all, and language is what binds us all together. Reading is not something that would be possible without a kind of social contract, right? We all are using reading in a particular way because we are members of particular groups. That is, we read in a certain way because we have learned to read in a certain way, because we understand that there are certain shared conventions that we adopt because we are part of that group, and because we are reading accordingly. Paradoxically, although reading is, on the one hand, and inarguably subjective, it is also the closest that we can come to inner subjectivity, to direct connection with another consciousness. And of course, we can't really do that, right? We can never really get a main line into somebody else's brain. There's no such thing really as telepathy, but reading is the closest we can come. We have the illusion, at least, that the author is talking directly to us. This is why fiction, for example, works, because we have the illusion that we're in somebody else's head, that we are somehow seeing the world through their eyes. And it is an illusion, but it's an illusion that's facilitated by language and by the process of reading and by the shared conventions that give us that experience. So, those are some general things about reading, and let's think about how that functions, particularly in this course. I mentioned that the texts we're going to be reading are complex. The texts are going to require multiple readings by you, and that requires a certain amount of work, and there's no getting around that. But if you just sit there and you just sort of read it from beginning to end, and then you read it from beginning to end, and you read it from beginning to end, and you're not reading in a way that allows you to slow down and interact with the text and to leave some kind of record of what you were thinking and as you were going through, and how you were trying to make sense of it, and what you understood and didn't understand the previous time through, you're not going to really be improving if all you're doing is repeating, right? We need a cycle that will allow you to build your reading. And so we're going to build that in to the course. So for each reading, we're going to ask you, first of all, to read it by yourself and to annotate it. And we're going to talk a lot about annotation in this course and in this series of mini lectures, because it's probably the most important thing that you can do as a reader, is to annotate the text. That is, to make notes, to it's a process of active reading, and we're going to talk a lot more about exactly what that means. But so we're going to ask you to do that individually, and please don't skip that step, because it's very important that you have your own sense of what you understand, what you don't understand, before you go to the group annotation. And we're going to be using an online site that will allow you to see your classmates' annotations and to contribute your own to that. And that will be, I think, a very important second reading process. And then finally, we will, in our face-to-face class discussions, we will begin with the group online annotation. We'll bring some of those questions and insights into it, and then we'll have our in-class discussion that's based on your previous individual and group reading of the text. And it's important that you don't skip those two steps. I know that in some courses you sort of say, well, I'm having trouble reading this, or it just seems so long. I'll just wait until I get to class and let the professor explain it. And that's not going to work in this course, right? We need you to work through the text using all of these steps of the process. So then after we've done that, and after we've done basically 2 texts in each unit, we're going to be doing 3 projects. Then we move to the writing phase of the project, and we'll be doing writing all along. There'll be informal writing all along, but we'll move then to the development of your individual topic and to the use of these sources in your own texts.